Mr. President, like many millions of Australian families, my family follows the fortunes of the Socceroos and the Matildas intently. We watch every minute of every game, we write every goal, we cheer every save. But with Iranian heritage on one side and Italian and British heritage on the other, the Dean's Nanva household is one where World Cup loyalties are tiered. Support for Australia sits well at the top, of course. Support for Iran sits on the second tier. And support for Italy sits in the third tier, and it's being stored safely away in the basement while we wait for them to actually qualify for a World Cup. The backstories of the Socceroos and the Matildas players resonate powerfully with families like ours. The teams are made up of men and women of different colours, different faiths, different sexualities, different ethnicities, and they speak a wide range of different languages. But they are united by a love for our country and motivated by the love and support of their communities. Mr. President, Socceroos are making headlines at an incredibly important moment. A moment when modern Australia's multicultural foundation is under threat from a resurgent right-wing political movement. It is striking that while Australia was celebrating the 2-0 win over Turkey, Pauline Hanson was telling the National Press Club that Australia must become monocultural. While our soccer players were representing Australia on the world stage with determination and dignity, Pauline Hanson was calling the European countries they are competing against shitholes. And while SBS was dominating the national television ratings with its exceptional World Cup coverage, Pauline Hanson was promising to shut the station down. Let's be clear about what One Nation's monocultural vision is and what it means. It's not about the rule of law, it's not about housing, and it's not about population growth. It's about eliminating all diversity and imposing strict rules on what you can do and what you can say. It's about replacing our a la carte society where people get to choose how they live their lives with a set menu of customs and beliefs. Mr. President, just imagine what life in Australia's One Nation monoculture would be like. There'd be no Hanukkah, there'd be no Ramadan, there'd be no films with subtitles, there'd be no SBS, there'd be no Mango Mela Festival, there'd be no Para Masala, there'd be no dancing the Macarena or the Rumba, not even a haka or Mexican hat dance. There'd be no pizza or souvlaki, no kubide, no gourmet sabzi, no yumcha. We'd all be eating the government-mandated diet of damper and billy tea for breakfast, meat pies and sausage rolls for lunch, and not that there's anything wrong with those staples of fine dining, but I want more. Mr. President, the monoculture sounds pretty boring indeed. But even if it wasn't a stupid idea to begin with, who would set the rules? Would there be a federal department of monoculture to decide what's in and what's out? And how would the rules be enforced? Would there be a culture police patrolling the streets, listening intently for people having private conversations in, heaven forbid, Mandarin? Peering over our shoulders in cafes to make sure people are drinking flat whites rather than cappuccinos? Mr. President, all this sounds glib, it sounds comical, but there are many thousands of people in Australia whose families like mine came to Australia to find freedom and to escape the crushing burden, the choking oppression of a government-imposed monoculture. The monoculture debate is tiresome to us, but it is frightening to many families like mine because they understand the sinister subtext. Mr. President, that's why I strongly believe that the overwhelming majority of Australians will reject the dangerous ideas that are wrapped up in the push for a monocultural Australia. And finally, Mr. President, I do want to give a shout out to Glenmore Park's very own Patrick Beach, the goalkeeper whose heroics kept Australia in the game against Turkey. Mr. Beach grew up in the neighbourhood where my family now lives, playing 5 seasons of junior football at Glenmore Park Football Club and attending school at Penrith Anglican College. He is, for now, our neighbourhood's most famous sporting export. I'm reliably advised that no one at Glenmore Park High School, for example, wants to play in the outfield anymore. They all want to be the goalie. It would be fitting to rename Penrith Beach as Patrick Beach for a week or two when it reopens in December. Let's do it, and best of luck to the Socceroos on Friday. A very proud multicultural nation is willing you on.
Thank you very much.